So today we're going to tie a Thumpin' Jack Flash stonefly. This is a little stonefly I created to fish in the Great Lakes area for steelhead and brown trout. We tie it in 6 different colors, chartreuse and pink being the most 2 popular colors. So start off by the materials we've got going on here. It's tied on a TCO 2457 scud hook in a size 6, a little curved shank. And then starting from the back, you've got black goose biots as the tail. And then going up to the abdomen, it's dubbed with SLF stonefly dubbing. And then on top of that, you've got scud back, and you have a little strip of twisted crystal flash up here to give it a little accent, all tied down with a little mono rib in the back. And then coming up to the top, you've got the thorax, obviously is your chartreuse estes, and then you've got black goose biot legs. And on top of that, you've got mottled oak thin skin in the color of black and white, and then a thread head kind of made up there. Now there's one material that you don't see, and that's because it's underneath here, and that's going to be, I've got .020 lead to give it a little bit of weight since there's no bead head at the top. So let's go ahead and get started here. So I like to add, you know, a little thread base, but I don't necessarily make it super tight, just enough so it's over top. And then I get down about halfway down the hook shank, down the hook bend, and I want to make a little thread ball here, and that's gonna help flare out those goose bite tails. So we're gonna go ahead and I gotta separate two little goose bites here. And I'm going to wrap that guy in there. Wrap down. You can adjust the angle a little bit to get that pop out. There you go. And I'm going to wrap up, and I'm not going to cut off the excess goose bite. I'm just going to wrap that around and use that as part of the body almost. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lead wire I got here, get it off the spool, and I'm going to wrap it about halfway up. Start halfway up and wrap up. I want to leave a little space at the front so you don't overload right behind the eye. And you can change the amount that you want to put. You can add it. You can always use a bigger diameter lead, but I like to use the .020 because it doesn't really bulk the fly up all that much. So as you can see there, you've got a little bit on the front, and then the back is going to be, you know, enough for you can go ahead and start your abdomen. So I've already cut my crystal flash here. There's about 8 to 10 strands of it, and then my mono that I'm going to use as the rib. I'm going to tie both these in together going back, so you can just one little less thread that you have to use. And I'm going to try to square this up pretty good on the back, so when you bring it forward over the top of the scud back, it's kind of square in the back and it's not all swirly and makes a pretty straight line. I'm going to cut off the little excess there, and then I'm going to wrap back forward up to the lead here and take my scud back, tie that guy in there right behind the lead. Pull her tight so you're not using a lot of excess when you come down. And you got to make sure you get right there, because you don't want to dub all the way up to the top here and then realize that, oh, you left a little bit in the back. So we got it all the way down. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our little SLF dubbing here with the crystal flash, and we're gonna kind of get it on, wrap that around there a good bit, slide it up as you go. Now I like to keep the abdomen a little thin, that way it doesn't make the fly too bulky, and kind of makes it almost more realistic, even though the thorax is chartreuse, but so I'm gonna just do a light wrap, cover the whole thing, but I'm just gonna do a smaller light wrap, and then once I get up to here, I'm gonna just keep going, and I'm gonna bulk that up just a tiny bit. Not gonna get it too big because you don't want it to be a lot bulky. So you want to get it to about there. So you got about 1/3 to 1/4 of the hook left to finish your fly off. So the next thing you know is I'm going to wrap this guy up here. Careful, I don't get all the thin skin, or excuse me, all the scud back. And I'm going to pull that scud back slightly tight and just cinch down do one tighter wrap. Cut that guy off. So now you've got thin skin over top of that there. So then as you can see, I'm now twisting. I just twisted this all the way up so it's a pretty tight little flashy rope almost. And I'm going to just get this guy wrapped around here, secure him pretty good. Get him close to the center as you can. And then I'm going to take my mono and I'm going to go ahead and rib this guy straight up. You don't have to make him super close. I mean, you like to give it a little of that natural look almost. Come up top here. Load it pretty tight. I got a little crystal flash twisted around my bobbin here. So get that in there pretty good, wrap it a couple times and kind of a little tight. Cut that off. So there you go. Then you've got your little accent flash there. Your tails, you can see, are kind of flared out relatively nicely on the back. So I'm going to take my Estes here, pull off just a little bit to get that tiny piece right there of the thread that it's made up with, and wrap that in there pretty good. Wrap it up a good bit, and then I'm just going to wrap this guy around twice. Now once I get to the top here, you can see there's still some stuff flapping around the front, so I'm going to hold that back so you get everything in the back. So that's one wrap, two, and then one more half wrap and bring it up and tie it off at the top there. Kind of adds just enough to get her pretty nice and flashed there. So now we're gonna put the legs on, the goose bite legs here. Just a couple wraps. You don't want the legs to be too long. I mean, you can make them longer if you want. But yeah, I like to keep them about a 1/2 inch long or so. Just nothing. Maybe not, I guess not even quite a 1/2 inch, but just enough so you can definitely stand out a little bit. So you got those two in there now. So I'm gonna take my scissors. I'm just gonna cut off that extra little piece of goose bite. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my thin skin here and I'm gonna cut 2 wing cases out of it. You can make these as big as you want, as thick as you want. I like to make them relatively thick so it really closes up the top of the fly and makes it a little bit more natural again. As natural as you can get a chartreuse stonefly to look. I like to try anyway. So I'm just going to tie this guy on here, up and down. I'm going to cut off a little bit of excess we got on here. There you go. So I'm going to wrap her forward. Going around here. You're going to do the same thing about 2.5 times. So you got one, and then 2. Go there. Like I said, you don't want to crowd the eye too much because we're going to have to snip off a little bit of the extra crystal flesh anyway. You don't want to get that up in the hook eye that much. So we're going to cut her off right there. This might take a minute, but it saves a little bit of grief when you get to the end. There we go. So I'm going to make that a little bit of a head. Start it off there. Take 2 more little legs, tie them in. Those guys down there pretty good. And you're going to snip off that tiny little piece. You got a little extra there. A little extra over here. Cut one more wing case. I like to just make a little, almost like a bullet head here. Now what I can do is just finish her up. Couple little turns, do it once, 1 or 2 times, just two or three around. Snip her off. And there you have it, the Thumpin' Jack Flash Stonefly. Takes a little bit at first, but once you get into it, you can get it down to a decent amount of time. But it's a good little effective pattern. You can see wrapped all the way around. So thank you very much. Get out and try it.